Humiliated Meghan Markle was asked to go out to the garden after a party. What is number one on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's to-do list? The important role of women in the royal family after the Queen's death. This is the main content of today's newsletter. So Meghan Markle was told that she needed to leave a garden party right after she married Prince Harry, and that is not a rumor, my friends. Now, this was the garden party that was hosted by the then Prince Charles, Harry's father, and he hosted it at Buckingham Palace. It was celebrating his 70th birthday. Meghan Markle was photographed sticking her tongue out, and then the press later used those photos to confirm the story of her awful behavior. So the truth came out that Meghan Markle had complained that she felt bored, and she started to act like a petulant child. I mean, honestly, though, even petulant children are not as bad as Meghan Markle, and usually they at least have parents with them to manage their awful behavior. So she was at a birthday party for her brand new father-in-law. I mean, this is a married woman who was invited as the wife of the son of the host, and she had the nerve to complain that she felt bored. And apparently it was within about 15 minutes of them getting there. And then when she was being photographed, she stuck her tongue out. Now, maybe she thought that people would think that she was cute and likable. Absolutely not. So when Prince Charles heard about her behavior, he ordered the car that had brought Harry and Meghan to be prepared, and then he told Harry that the car's waiting for them and they need to go. In the UK and in America, and I think everywhere else, it is considered very rude to insult the host and the host's other guests when attending an event. I mean, this is an event to which Harry and Meghan accepted an invitation to attend. And maybe it's not the same where Meghan grew up. I mean, I didn't grow up in LA to be fair, but no, I'm sure that it's rude there too. I'm sure similar standards of behavior also apply. Now, if a little kid has a tantrum, then the parent or whoever is responsible for the child is expected to deal with the problem. But this is a married woman in her late 30s or really early 40s. We expect that she learned a long time ago how to act right in adult company, even if the event is not one that she necessarily was excited to attend. I'm sure that Kevin Costner called it right when he was talking about there being people at his event with bad manners. I mean, that was so funny to me, watching those two try to mix with the A-listers. Meghan Markle looked like an absolute fool, and then Harry was just high as a kite. Meghan is such an embarrassment to the US, I've got to say. So many American women, if they had the same opportunity, they would have been so excited to learn the ways of the royal family and become a student of the late Queen. Can you imagine? I mean, she truly was the queen of grace and dignity and perfect etiquette. But not Meghan. But like I said already, she is such an embarrassment. There are more than a few American women who have married into the British nobility, and they didn't have any problem with adapting. I mean, they were even featured in some TV programs. Now, it requires some effort, sure, some hard work, but it's not impossible to achieve a balance between the two cultures. But obviously, it was for Meghan. Meghan just doesn't have any class. I mean, nobody ever taught her proper manners, apparently. The way she acted at the garden party, that was inexcusable. Now, obviously, the Prince of Wales was not up to her standards. I mean, what is she thinking? So this garden party happened about 4 days after the wedding, and that's how Meghan Markle treated him. I mean, this man who volunteered to walk her down the aisle. Meghan just acted so immature, and of course Charles had to ask Harry and his wife to leave, and Harry made some excuse, so Charles sent Camilla over to tell them not ask them to leave, and Meghan Markle acted like they wanted to leave anyway, and then she decided to switch up the stairs. I mean, I have seen that video at least a dozen times. So what is number one on Harry and Meghan Markle's to-do list? Well, they have made that pretty clear. They want to be back in the thick of it. They want to pick up royal engagements in the UK again. Getting ready for the Invictus Games, Harry is supposed to give a speech to commemorate the 10th anniversary. And Meghan and Harry are absolutely hell-bent on forcing their way back into the UK. They don't care if anybody wants them there or not. Meghan is apparently going to join Harry on the next visit to the UK in spite of claiming that she was never going to come back, that she never felt at home in the UK, and that she doesn't want to get sucked back into the royal drama. So, alright, I guess unless something unexpected happens, Harry and Meghan are going to show up for the Invictus Games. And if they don't come, they're going to have some explaining to do because everybody is going to assume that they just couldn't handle the awkwardness of having to meet face-to-face with Prince William. Harry has already made it abundantly clear that he despises his family. He despises the monarchy, he despises his home country and the people of it too. So that means that Harry and Meghan just want to come back just enough to get all the perks, and they don't want to do anything meaningful for the country. They don't care what anybody thinks. Typical Sussex behavior. But I'm not sure. I'm just not sure that this is really going to happen. I guess they would have to hire a private jet. And what about the invisible children? I mean, if they're going to bring them, I assume they have to bring the kids' parents over too. To enter the UK with children, well, they either need to be listed on Harry and Meghan's passports or they've got to have their own in their own names. Either way, they're not going to be allowed to come over without their parents, or the passport issue is going to expose them. So if Harry and Meghan return for this Invictus event, of course, there's nothing that really the people of Britain can do to stop it. But if they decide to extend the visit and show up in the public arena, well, the people can do whatever they want. They can boo them, they can throw rotten tomatoes at them, ignore them, turn their backs on them so that they know how the people feel about them. Harry and Meghan need to know that they are going to be the most ignored people in the whole realm of the British monarchy and Commonwealth states, and they are nobodies to the rest of the world. These idiots, do they really have the nerve to come, though? That's the question. So now let's shift gears a little bit, and let's talk about the important role of women in the royal family after the Queen's passing. Something I've really noticed lately is that Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, has become quite a force to be reckoned with in the royal family. And she is so beautiful. I swear she only gets more beautiful the older she gets. And similar to Catherine, the Princess of Wales, Sophie also seems to be an incredibly devoted wife and mother, and her children are actually well balanced, and guess what? They're not invisible. Although maybe recognition of her talents and abilities to deal with a crisis has come a little bit late in the whole royal drama, we cannot deny that she certainly has stepped up to the plate, and she has assumed responsibility for whatever has to be done. I guess now the opportunity has presented itself for her to really show us what she's all about, and we are loving it. So the late Queen did an amazing job mentoring and supporting these two women, who some people call commoners. I mean, Catherine and Sophie quietly took on their royal roles within the royal family, and they carefully developed their skills over time, and now they are finally being recognized for everything they truly are, everything they are worth. They're asserting themselves, they're standing up for the royal family, and they are taking charge of issues that have been left behind after the passing of that remarkable woman, the Queen. And I'm not going to forget about Camilla either. Now, I know that once upon a time, many people hated her because she was viewed as the other woman. I mean, it's tragic. Charles still had feelings for somebody who he was not allowed to choose for a wife, and this created so many problems in his marriage to Diana. Diana was a young woman, and she was desperate for his love, but she was never going to get it. They simply were not a good match. And we cannot deny, though, that Camilla clearly serves a major purpose in Charles's life. She is the one who keeps him going. He loves her with all his heart. And I think that she could be a big part of the reason that he can't fulfill his responsibilities, in spite of the horrible cancer diagnosis that he has gotten. In this respect, Camilla could also be considered to be a very forceful, formidable woman who keeps the king going, both in health and in illness. We could say that she is a silent partner supporting this marriage. And don't worry, of course I did not forget about Princess Anne. I mean, such a remarkable woman too. She is never ever going to waver from the responsibilities that are expected of her, and in this way she is a lot like her late mother. Looks to me like these four women in the senior royals are basically running the show now, and they are certainly holding down the fort. I also believe that feminists around the world should salute these four. I mean, in their own quiet way, they have all rose to the occasion, and they all are not afraid to take action when something needs to be done. So perhaps, as Harry claims, a crisis really does bring families together. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I would say that a crisis often brings out the best in families who already have a good relationship. The fact that the Queen adored Sophie so much, she loved her like a daughter, that tells us everything we need to know. The Queen was an excellent judge of character. And Sophie mostly stays out of the spotlight. She certainly did while raising her kids, but now she is stepping up and she is making an amazing Duchess of Edinburgh. And I agree, the Fab Four, the new Fab Four, Camilla, Anne, Sophie, and Catherine, they are a force, and they're going to carry the monarchy through these challenging times. And see, I've always thought that Meghan severely underestimated the late queen, and because the other women never really pushed themselves forward like Meghan did, perhaps she read them wrong. But see, Meghan doesn't even try to truly comprehend most things. She just gets this superficial understanding and thinks that's it. And she doesn't understand British behavior. It just goes over her head. She's too ignorant. She's too abrasive. And look, I don't agree for 1 second that Camilla is the reason that Diana passed away. I know it was very complicated what happened in their marriages. But Charles, I think, loved her, and it didn't really matter if she was going to be with him or not. He wasn't going to love Diana like that. And Charles, of course, wanted to be king. Now, karma is always going to come back and get somebody, but I think the fact that Camilla is now content and happy, that tells us she was not so wrong. Camilla and Charles ended up marrying different people. They kind of had to. And she did love her husband, I think, and they had kids together. And let's not forget that on TV, Diana admitted that she was the first person in the marriage to stray. When the marriage between Diana and Charles fell apart, and it seemed like it couldn't be repaired, Charles then started to reconnect with Camilla, and her marriage was also over. Before the divorce and while divorced, Diana had other affairs. But Charles, I think, has only ever truly loved one woman, and that was Camilla. Diana was young, she was really needy, she was a bit clingy due to her really sad upbringing. She was kind of emotionally unbalanced, she had a lot of problems, and she simply was incompatible with Charles in so many ways. And honestly, there were parts of her personality that were probably not well suited to the life of the future queen. And sadly, Diana got into a car with a drunk driver. She didn't buckle her seatbelt, and the driver was driving way too fast, and that's why she died. It had nothing to do with Camilla. Did Camilla make Diana have at least about, 6 relationships while she was still married? Probably even more. She herself has admitted that she had the first affair. Was Camilla the reason that Diana basically abandoned her kids while she was running around with all kinds of sketchy characters? No. Did Camilla make Diana get into that car with a drunk driver? Again, no. And did Camilla tell her, don't you dare wear your seatbelt while speeding around Paris with a drunk driver? Again, absolutely not. So please, let's just allow Diana to finally rest in peace. She's gone, and yes, it was tragic, but the world has got to move on, and especially Harry. Well, folks, that's the main content of today's news, and did you find it interesting? Through the recent content, what did you think? Please share your thoughts and opinions below in the comments, and I'll be even more grateful if you'll support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel.